So I got one of these eBay special, phone's on 15, special steering wheels, like 120 bucks. I got this one used. It was faded out black, and it was a very light blue. So I painted the spokes gloss black, and then I did the outside of it the same color I did the Camaro. I've already put a grunt wheel in it out of the 83Z project, but I wanted to put this wheel in there. And I was like, well, I can get an adapter for, what, 40 bucks? But I decided to make one. I believe this is 1/8 inch steel bar. And I got a adapter. So this is the piece that come out of the factory steering wheel. So it has the splines and everything in it for the steering column, and it has 2 threaded holes for to remove it. I drilled them out on the back side and then cleaned them up with a tap. It's a little cold out here, guys. It is winter after all. I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts. But so I cleaned those threads up. I gotta find some bolts. I'll probably have to go buy some. Oh well. But I got this adapter, and I want to use this plate. I want to drill a hole for the threaded section of the steering column to come through this, and then have 2 bolt holes through this plate to hold it to this, along with the nut from the steering column. And then I want to use these 4 holes to hold it. Now I was wanting to do all 6, but it's not big enough. It's not wide enough, and I could easily take this piece and cut a section off and then put it over here and weld it. I didn't want to do all that. I'll use some premium bolts here, tapered Allen head or hex head bolts, and I'll use lock nuts on the back side to hold it on. I wouldn't recommend doing this. It's kind of a hack job, in my opinion. It's kind of something you don't really want to mess with, especially steering, and it's just not really something you want to mess with. But I'm going to overbuild this thing, and I'm going to tighten everything properly, so I think we should be okay. The hardest part is just going to be getting everything centered. So the only thing I can do is I can get this hole drilled into that plate right now, and then these 2, I can't drill the outside holes, or I can do the outside holes that go from the steering wheel to the plate, but I can't do these 2 because this has got a spline in it that's a little bit wider right there at my finger, if you can see it in there, and that only goes on one way on the steering column. So it has to go on one way, and then you have to mark it properly so that your steering wheel is centered. Because if I get in my car and my wheels are straight, and my steering wheel's cocked in like this, I will not be happy with it at all. I don't know if I should really do this. I don't really feel too comfortable with the 4-bolt thing, but I didn't really want to use aluminum plate. Not like I had any anyways, but aluminum plate because I was worried about maybe the nuts, the pressure sinking into aluminum and maybe loosen up over time with some wear. I didn't want to have to worry about that kind of stuff, so I just want to go with steel. Woo! Stoker's Mint, baby. But yeah, this is a cheap wheel, 140 bucks. It comes with the piece that goes on the front and a horn button. I don't have any of that stuff. In my steering column, there's actually a little plastic tube It has like a groove cut into it that locks in a spring. It has a little plastic thing that slides in and turns and it locks in. That's for the horn wire, the hot wire. That piece has actually been broken off for a long time. So sometimes my horn wouldn't work. I didn't know why. When I pulled that steering wheel off, I found that. So I actually just ran a button to the center console, just a momentary button I can just use anytime. And that's my horn. So I don't need a horn button on the steering wheel. I just want one to make it look right. Or maybe get, I don't know. I like to have something on here just to cover up this whole middle area. So I'll probably have to order. I did contact a seller on eBay that sells these. They said that they will sell the piece that goes on the front and the horn button, but it's like $35, and I'm not wanting to put $75 into this thing. So it's $40 for the adapter, $35 for the horn button. It's not a lot of money. This is money I'm not wanting to spend on just a steering wheel. You know. But you always want to do it right the first time, and then that way you don't have to do it again. So that's why I'm kind of second guessing if I should even be doing this, because I don't want to do it again. And I probably will, so. Yeah. Well, I'm sitting in the car. And I want to just take a second here while I'm sitting here in the parking lot waiting on my girlfriend. So I just wanted to quickly show y'all the final result on the homemade steering wheel adapter for the 97 Camaro. So this piece of steel you see here is from Lowe's. It was back there by the hardware. It's just a little plate that they put on, you know, like 2x6s or whatever. It has holes in it for nails. It kind of just, it's a good way to butt joint 2 pieces of wood. It's not very thick. Let's see if I can get you back in there. You kind of see how thin it is. And then you can also see the original adapter off the steering wheel. And then I used 6 Allen head tapered bolts. Those are stainless with stainless nuts on the back. A little dirty, a little rough and dirty, but she's solid as a rock, except for the steering column, but does the job just fine. So these 2 bolt holes are actually to put a puller in here and then press it into the center of the steering shaft to pull the old factory steering wheel out. Well, I drilled for this one. It didn't quite line up, and plus it was a very tight fit between the head of that bolt. You can see there the corner, some of the corners are rubbed off there where it rubbed up against that nut, but I had to have at least 1 bolt in here. So this nut is clamping the adapter onto the steering column and the adapter plate against it, but I needed a way to, if this was to loosen up, that if I was to turn the wheel, just to make sure that this plate can't spin under the nut. This way, since I have a bolt in here and it's actually tightened down, if this nut comes loose, which it really can't because it's pretty tight squeeze in between here, they're actually pretty bound up. Let's just say it's not going to be very easy to remove, but it will not cause any damage to the steering column or the nut, so it's not a big deal. Or the steering wheel for that case, which needs to be repainted, but that's besides the point. So I didn't do a whole lot of filming on making it because it's kind of just go as, you know, do what I have to do as I do it, you know, kind of thing. It was very time consuming. I probably have about 3 or 4 hours tied up in just a steering wheel adapter that will eventually just go up on a shelf and be forgotten about or thrown away. So I wouldn't, like I said earlier in the video, I would steer away from doing this kind of thing because, I mean, you're putting your life of a car into something you make. I know that don't really mean a lot because there's a lot of us out there that actually build a lot of stuff custom for our cars, but steering component, you know, If you know what you're doing, it's fine. If you don't touch it. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. The bolts are tight. Of course, I did make sure to get a piece of steel that was big enough to utilize all 6 bolts. I did have a thicker plate, but it did not allow me to use the top and bottom bolt, so that wasn't going to float my goat. So just want to got a little bit thinner piece. Show you that again. It's kind of thin, but it's not bad. Of course, I don't have a cover that goes in here to cover this section up, so it's all open. You see I don't have a clock spring. That was already broken, so I just kind of just tapped it and it broke off the rest of the way. No big deal. Horn button is actually over here. So of course I don't need an ashtray, so I just utilized this piece of plastic for a momentary button. JB welded it in with the ashtray still under there, believe it or not, and extended the wiring from the knee panel, kick panel, whatever you call it, up under here. Extended that wire up through the center, up to the dash, through the center console, and up underneath here to this. And then I gave it a ground straight to body, so just like the steering column. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. Phone's going dead. Don't want to drag this whole thing on. It's very simple. I wouldn't do it, but I'm here to show you I did it and it works. And if you want to do it but better, you know, here's the criteria. Here's the bare minimum. Just make sure you don't forget you need some way to lock the adapter to this adapter. They have to be one. They cannot be able to rotate. Don't count on this nut. Thanks guys. Peace out.